When the final breath leaves the body, many believe the story ends, but according to Edgar Cayce, the man called the sleeping prophet, this is where the most beautiful chapter begins. He spoke often of the moment when the soul, free from its physical form, awakens in the spiritual dimension. And in those luminous moments, as awareness returns, something incredible happens. You remember, not just who you were, but who you have always loved. Cayce described the afterlife not as a distant, unfamiliar place, but as a continuation of consciousness, a realm vibrating at higher frequency where thought becomes creation and love becomes form. In that world, the bonds of affection between parent and child, lover and beloved, friend and friend, do not dissolve. They become clearer, more radiant than ever before. He said that recognition between souls does not depend on faces or names. Instead, it happens instantly. As energy meets energy, heart meets heart, spirit recognizes spirit. Every act of love we shared on earth creates a signature, a unique vibration that cannot be mistaken in the spirit world. So, when your soul crosses over, you don't search for your loved ones. You feel them. Their essence calls to yours like a familiar melody, a frequency you have known since before time began. Cayce's readings reveal that even before we incarnate, we form soul groups, clusters of spirits who travel together across lifetimes, teaching, healing, and awakening one another. When one member of that group passes into spirit first, they often remain nearby, guiding, comforting, waiting. Thus, death does not end relationship, it only removes the veil. There is no separation, Cayce said, except in the mind of man. And perhaps this is why so many who have experienced near-death or deep spiritual visions describe a reunion so vivid, a love so complete, that words fail to capture it. It is not fantasy, it is remembrance, a soul remembering its eternal family. Edgar Cayce described the moment of recognition in the spirit world as one of the most exquisite experiences a soul can have. He said that when a soul first enters the higher planes, it radiates with its true vibration, a tone of pure energy shaped by every act of kindness, compassion, and love from its earthly life. That vibration is not something you can disguise. It is your spiritual fingerprint, the unique sound of your essence. And it is through this vibration that souls recognize one another. You don't see your loved ones as you saw them on earth. Instead, you feel them first. Their warmth, their presence, their familiar love washing over you like light remembered. It's as if the soul sings out, and only those who share its frequency hear the melody. Cayce explained that this recognition happens beyond words or form. In those higher realms, communication is telepathic, thought to thought, heart to heart, truth to truth. So when two souls meet again, their reunion is instant and total. They know each other not by face but by energy. Their shared experiences, the laughter, the sorrow, the growth, all recorded in vibration, become the bridge of recognition. He said that every relationship of genuine love leaves an energetic imprint on the soul. These imprints endure even after the body perishes, forming threads of light that stretch across dimensions. When both souls enter the spiritual plane, those threads glow, pulling them toward one another like magnets of divine memory. Cayce described this as the law of affinity. Just as matter is drawn by gravity, spirits are drawn by love. The deeper and more selfless the love, the brighter the resonance, and the quicker the recognition. No distance, no barrier, no death can weaken it. In his readings, Cayce spoke of individuals who, after passing over, were met not by angels or strangers, but by the very souls they had loved most, mothers, children, partners, even beloved pets. They came forward in radiant light, their energy recognizable by feeling alone. He said, "The light of one soul calls to another, and they answer, for love knows no separation." In heaven, the soul does not ask, "Where are they?" It simply remembers. The recognition is immediate, a joyful reunion that feels like waking from a long dream. And yet, there is no attachment in the human sense. Love there is free, whole, without need or fear of loss. Cayce's vision suggested that many of the people we meet in our earthly lives, even brief encounters, are members of our soul group woven into the eternal pattern. In the spirit world, these connections become vividly clear. You realize that no relationship was random. Every meeting had purpose. Every bond had roots far deeper than memory. The realm of light, he said, is organized by consciousness, not by geography. You are drawn into communities of souls whose lessons harmonize with your own, like concentric circles of awareness. There, you continue to grow, to heal, and to love. Always together, never lost. A pause. Gentle music fades into stillness. You will know them, Cayce said, not by their faces but by their light. For love is the only vision that never fades. Edgar Cayce often spoke of soul families, groups of spirits bound together by shared purpose, growth, and divine love. These souls, he said, reincarnate again and again in each other's lives, taking on different roles across the ages. A mother in one life might return as a son in another, a friend as a teacher, a child as a guardian. The forms change, but the connection never fades. Cayce described this as part of a vast spiritual design, a pattern woven by the Creator, in which every soul helps the others evolve. No one travels alone, he said. Every experience is shared, every lesson echoed in the hearts of those who love you. When a soul crosses over into the afterlife, the awareness of this tapestry becomes vivid and undeniable. In that higher light, you see your soul group, radiant beings who have walked beside you through countless incarnations. The recognition is overwhelming. You realize that even your greatest struggles on earth were often acts of love, souls agreeing to challenge each other so both could awaken. Cayce's readings revealed that before each life, souls meet in the spirit realm to plan their next journey. These meetings are sacred councils, full of compassion and purpose. You review what has been learned, what still needs healing, and who will accompany you next. Some volunteer to be the ones who hurt you, not out of cruelty, but so that forgiveness and understanding might be born. He described it as divine cooperation, not fate. Every soul chooses, with free will, how to participate in another's growth. That is why in the afterlife there is no judgment, only clarity. You see the roles you and others played in helping one another evolve. Every difficult person, every heartbreak, every loss suddenly makes sense. The soul feels gratitude where the human once felt pain. Cayce said this is one of the most liberating realizations after death, that love was hidden even in the sorrow, and when you recognize those who walked with you through it, family, friends, adversaries, there is only embrace. Sometimes, one soul in the group reincarnates before another. Cayce explained that this doesn't sever the bond. The soul still in spirit can become a guide, sending dreams, insights, or moments of intuition to the one still incarnate. You may feel them near, a comforting presence during hardship, or a whisper in prayer. In his readings, Cayce said many people are unconsciously guided by loved ones who have already returned to the light. They are the unseen hands that nudge us toward our purpose, reminding us that we are never abandoned. When all members of a soul group complete their cycles, they ascend together to higher planes, realms of pure unity, where individuality remains, but separation dissolves. There, Cayce said, the soul remembers what it truly is, a spark of God's eternal love, learning to shine ever brighter through every life, every bond, every return. The ties of spirit, Cayce said, are not broken by death, nor by time, nor by distance. They are the very cords of eternity. In his most compassionate readings, Edgar Cayce described how the souls of our loved ones do not vanish when they leave the physical world. They adapt. They begin to communicate in new ways, through subtler forms of energy and through the language of the heart. According to Cayce, every thought is energy, and energy never dies. When a person passes on, their soul remains attuned to those they love through this very energy field. Love becomes the bridge between realms. As he once said, thoughts are things, living, breathing entities that transcend the material plane. Those we love are aware of our grief, our prayers, and our quiet moments of remembrance. But they do not experience sorrow as we do. They feel understanding and deep compassion. They send comfort through frequency, through signs, sensations, synchronicities that only love can decode. Many who came to Cayce for readings were grieving. They wanted to know, can they see us? Do they know we miss them? Cayce's answer was gentle, yet profound. Yes, more clearly than ever. For now they see with the eyes of the soul. He described several ways departed souls make contact with those still living. Through dreams. Dreams, Cayce said, are the most natural meeting ground between the physical and spiritual worlds. When our conscious mind sleeps, the soul is free to rise and connect. In this state, loved ones may appear radiant, youthful, and calm, their presence unmistakably real. They do not always speak, for the communication happens soul to soul, a deep knowing that transcends words. Through sudden feelings of peace. There are moments, he said, when we might feel a wave of warmth or serenity that seems to come from nowhere, perhaps while thinking of them. That, Cayce explained, is not imagination. It's resonance, a loved one's soul brushing against your aura, offering reassurance. I am still here. Through synchronicities and signs, Cayce taught that the spiritual realm often uses the material world to send messages. A song that plays at just the right moment, a bird landing near your window, a scent from the past that drifts through the air. These are not coincidences. They are reminders that the fabric between worlds is thinner than it appears. Through intuitive knowing, some souls, Cayce revealed, continue guiding their loved ones through intuition, an inner voice that feels familiar, like the echo of someone you've known forever. A quiet nudge that says, turn left instead of right, or call that friend, or keep going. These impressions are the whispering guidance of the unseen. He explained that contact is not about calling them back, but raising our own vibration so the soul can meet us in the middle. Grief lowers energy. Love elevates it. And when we choose love through prayer, gratitude, or peaceful remembrance, we open the channel wider for that divine communication. Cayce urged us to listen, not with the ears, but with the spirit, to become aware of subtle impressions, for spirit always speaks softly. He said that those who meditate or pray sincerely are often surrounded by their loved ones in ways they cannot yet perceive, and when one truly learns to attune to that frequency, the fear of death vanishes. Because then death is revealed not as separation, but as transformation. The love that once required words now speaks directly to the soul. For love, Cayce said, is the only vibration that crosses every realm. It is never lost, only changed in form. When Edgar Cayce spoke of the afterlife, one of the most beautiful truths he revealed was this: no soul ever forgets the vibration of love it once shared. The bonds that are real in spirit are eternal. They transcend form, body, and even time itself. Cayce described the moment of recognition between souls as one of the most sacred and indescribable experiences in existence. When a soul arrives in the higher planes after leaving the earth, it does not wander in confusion or isolation for long. Instead, it begins to sense familiar energies, waves of warmth, peace, and unmistakable love radiating toward it. These are the souls it has known, cherished, and sometimes lost, but never truly lost, because love leaves an imprint upon the soul that eternity itself cannot erase. He explained that when we pass into the afterlife, our first perception is often of light, but soon after we recognize vibration. Every person, every soul has a distinct energy signature, a kind of spiritual tone that is unique. Just as we know a loved one's voice instantly on earth, the soul knows the tone of those it loves. Imagine, Cayce said, entering a vast field of light and suddenly feeling the unmistakable resonance of your mother's love, your child's laughter, a friend's kindness, all returning to you in waves of color and sound. Recognition doesn't come through sight at first. It comes through feeling. And as the vibration aligns, forms begin to emerge, faces radiant with light, smiling with a knowing that says, "Welcome home." In one of Cayce's readings, he described how these reunions are not random meetings, but divinely orchestrated encounters. Souls gather to greet the returning one not out of sentiment alone, but because each has played a role in the other's growth. Every act of love, forgiveness, and compassion we express on earth creates a spiritual thread, and it is those threads that draw us back together in the light. Cayce even revealed that some souls take on a radiant form, familiar to what we remember, only brighter, lighter, as though love itself has taken shape. They appear as we need to recognize them. A departed parent may appear youthful again, a child may shine with wisdom far beyond their years, but the essence, the heart vibration, remains the same. In the spirit realm, communication happens instantly, without words. Two souls can share a lifetime of understanding in a single exchange of thought. And when they meet again, there is no sense of loss, no regret for what could have been, only gratitude for what was, and joy for what continues beyond the veil. Cayce often emphasized that these reunions are not merely emotional, they are profoundly healing, for in that instant of recognition, all illusions of separation dissolve. Every pain once carried for their absence, every unspoken goodbye, is washed away in the radiance of divine understanding. It is here, Cayce said, that the soul truly begins to remember itself, not as a being that lived and died, but as an eternal spark in a vast family of light. We are never alone because the souls we have loved walk with us in every realm of existence, and when we return home to the divine, we do not find strangers waiting for us. We find ourselves reflected in all those we loved. All whom the soul has truly loved, Cayce said, will be known again, for love is the law of recognition in heaven. Edgar Cayce described heaven not as a static paradise, but as a living symphony of consciousness. Souls do not simply reunite and rest. They grow together, learn together, and radiate love in ever-widening circles of harmony. Once a soul recognizes those it has loved, Cayce said, something extraordinary unfolds. The reunion blossoms into communion, not limited to personal relationships, but expanding into a shared awareness of unity. It is as if each soul is a note in a grand celestial chord, vibrating in perfect resonance with all others. This is what Cayce called the chorus of the spheres, the living song of divine memory. In that higher state, every soul perceives how deeply interconnected all experiences have been. The joy you gave a stranger, the kindness you offered in passing, the forgiveness you extended to one who hurt you, all of it becomes visible in patterns of light, linking countless beings across time. You see that even those who challenged you or caused pain were instruments in your awakening. The web of souls is woven from both harmony and dissonance, and heaven is where we finally understand the full melody. Cayce explained that groups of souls often travel together through many incarnations, forming what he called soul families. These are clusters of consciousness bound not by blood, but by purpose. On earth, they may appear as friends, siblings, partners, or even adversaries. But in the spirit realm, their shared mission is clear, the evolution of love and understanding. When such groups gather in the heavenly planes, they exchange what they have learned. Imagine a circle of luminous beings, each radiating colors that express their spiritual essence. One golden with compassion, another blue with truth, another violet with faith. Their lights mingle and strengthen one another. In this communion, growth happens not through effort, but through mutual reflection. The more love one soul expresses, the more it ignites the love within the rest. Cayce said, "This is how divine education occurs beyond the earth, through resonance, not instruction." There are no teachers in the ordinary sense, only those who shine a little brighter, helping others remember their own brilliance. Knowledge flows like music, wisdom is absorbed like warmth, and each act of remembrance lifts the whole group closer to the source. He described how souls sometimes form councils of light, where they review the progress of their shared work on earth. They might perceive how far their circle has come in fulfilling the ideals of patience, mercy, or faith. Plans are made for future incarnations, not as assignments but as opportunities, roles chosen freely for the good of the whole. In these councils, Cayce said, even the most personal love becomes universal. A mother who once held her child now holds the entire world in compassion. A friend who once comforted one heart now radiates comfort to thousands. Love expands until it becomes indistinguishable from divine will. Cayce often reminded his listeners that this higher communion is not far from us. Every time we pray for another, every time we forgive or bless, we touch that same realm of connection. Heaven is not only afterlife, it is the deep reality within life, glimpsed whenever love transcends fear. And so, the reunion of souls becomes the foundation for eternal progress. Recognition becomes communion. Communion becomes co-creation. In this sacred exchange, God's love flows freely through every being, weaving them into one radiant family, a reflection of the divine mind itself. According to Edgar Cayce, the connection between souls does not end at death. It only changes form. The love that once held hands, shared meals, or offered comfort in physical ways becomes something far more subtle and powerful, a spiritual companionship that transcends the veil. Cayce taught that when a soul enters the heavenly planes, one of its first acts is to turn its awareness toward those still on earth. It looks not with grief or longing, but with profound compassion. The soul sees the entire tapestry of a loved one's life, the fears, the hopes, the lessons still unfolding, and it desires only to help, to guide, to whisper encouragement through the stillness of spirit. These communications are not always audible or visible, Cayce said, because they occur in the quiet spaces of the heart. A sudden sense of peace during a difficult moment, a dream so vivid it feels like an embrace, a thought that seems to arrive from nowhere just when it's needed. These, he explained, are the signatures of loving souls at work. He described them as currents of light that move through the ether, flowing from the higher planes into human consciousness. When we are still enough, when our minds are softened by prayer, meditation, or grief's humility, we can sense these currents. They do not force or command, they nudge, inspire, remind. Cayce often said that the departed do not speak to us as we imagine, but they vibrate to us. Their love becomes energy, guiding intuition and insight. And yet Cayce warned that not all souls can easily assist their loved ones. Some, he said, remain bound by attachment, worry, or guilt, lingering too close to the earthly realm. These are not lost souls, but rather those still learning to release the dense vibrations of physical emotion. For them, the best gift we can offer is prayer. A sincere prayer of gratitude or blessing acts like a beam of light, helping them ascend into greater clarity. Once free of earthly weight, their love flows more purely, unimpeded by fear. Cayce also revealed that certain souls take on the role of guardians, not only for individuals, but for families or even entire generations. He described how in the Akashic records, family lineages are like rivers of energy, and souls who have walked that river before often remain as watchful presences along its banks. They may influence a grandchild's calling, protect a spouse's path, or help a descendant discover their life purpose. One of Cayce's most moving insights was that our departed loved ones sometimes help orchestrate meetings between souls still incarnate. A friend we randomly meet, a mentor who arrives at the perfect time, a relationship that feels destined, all may be part of a divine arrangement woven by unseen hands. In this way, the love of those beyond continues to shape our journey, nudging us toward the very growth they now understand from the other side. Yet Cayce emphasized that true help from the beyond never overrides free will. The soul's assistance is like a breeze on a sail. It offers direction, not control. We must still steer our vessel, make our choices, and grow through experience. But when we act with love, we align ourselves with their vibration, and their strength flows through us naturally. This, Cayce said, is why acts of love feel strangely eternal. Every prayer we whisper for the departed, every candle lit in memory, every moment we live in kindness, these become bridges between worlds. In the quiet reciprocity of love, the seen and unseen realms merge, and sometimes in moments of deep peace or sudden knowing, we realize something astonishing, that we too are not separate from those who came before. Their light lives in our choices, their wisdom in our intuition, their love in our very heartbeat. For love, as Cayce said, is the only force that never dies. It only changes its form, becoming ever more radiant, ever more free. In Edgar Cayce's final reflections on the afterlife, he described heaven not as a place of clouds or distant radiance, but as a state of perfect remembrance. When the soul fully awakens beyond the veil, it remembers everything, every connection, every act of love, every kindness given or received. In that moment, Cayce said, the soul realizes that no relationship was ever lost, only transformed. He often described the afterlife as a realm of harmonies, vibrations of divine thought and feeling. Souls who have loved deeply on earth carry those harmonies with them, and as they rise through the planes of consciousness, those melodies begin to resonate with others who share the same tone of love. This is why recognition in heaven is instant. It is not about faces or voices. It is about vibration. You know the soul of a loved one because you feel them as light, as music that your heart remembers. Cayce once said, "No soul ever meets another by chance." In heaven, this truth becomes radiant. Every connection from earth, the mother who held your hand, the friend who shared your laughter, the child you once comforted, the stranger whose kindness healed your day, all of them appear again, not as fleeting memories, but as living beings of light. Each reunion is filled with deep understanding. Both souls instantly see what their relationship meant in the greater plan of growth. Every pain forgiven, every misunderstanding dissolved, every lesson understood in love. There is, Cayce revealed, a profound stillness in these moments. Not the silence of emptiness, but of divine completeness. The soul knows that everything it ever loved is safe, and that every act of love continues endlessly, reverberating through eternity. It is then that the soul understands the purpose of its earthly journey, not to achieve greatness, but to learn how to be love itself. In these luminous planes, Cayce said, souls often gather in circles of purpose. Families, soul groups, and kindred spirits join in radiant communion, sharing what they have learned from their lives on earth. Together, they look upon the tapestry of creation and see how every thread, every life, intertwines perfectly. Here souls plan new journeys, not out of compulsion but from compassion, a desire to return to the physical world to help others awaken, to spread the light they now carry within them. For those still on earth, this truth offers comfort. When you sit in prayer or silence and feel a warmth around you, when a thought of a departed loved one brings sudden peace instead of pain, that is their light touching yours. Cayce called it the memory of heaven that never leaves the soul. And as that realization deepens, the boundary between worlds grows thinner. Life and afterlife are revealed as one continuous current of consciousness, flowing endlessly toward God. The love we give here becomes the light we walk in there. Cayce's vision ends not in mystery but in radiant simplicity. Heaven, he said, is not a place you go to. It's the state you awaken into when all fear, grief, and separation dissolve in the awareness that God is love and love is all. So when the time comes and the veil of the world grows soft and the soul begins its ascent, it does not enter into the unknown. It steps into the arms of every love it has ever known, and in that eternal embrace, it finally understands. It has never been apart from God, not for a single heartbeat.